This is our last stop of the tour, the Rochford Street road closure, where there was an incredible blockade that happened on Christmas Eve 1985, an almost totally unknown history of struggle, but one that was incredibly successful. It pretty much won all of its major demands. And so this was just one of 11 blockades that popped up around the inner west. In Redfern, in Alexandria, Newtown, and of course in Erskineville. And so why were people protesting about road closures, you might ask? Well, the first and perhaps most prominent reason was because traffic accidents were killing people at quite a substantial rate, and they were particularly dangerous to young children. So of the 50 or so people who were injured or killed in traffic accidents in the decade before the blockades, about 75% were young children. So it was a really serious issue. People wanted their kids to have space to play, to enjoy the suburb, rather than being dominated by cars and, of course, the threat of accidents. There was also the threat of what was called blind corners, where people were turning and weren't able to see oncoming traffic. And there were broader concerns about pollution, noise and air pollution, just about the natural beauty of the space and making a space that was incredibly aesthetically beautiful. And you can see here that it's a really wonderful, gorgeous space to be. And so we have the residents who fought for the road closures to thank for this incredibly beautiful space. But back to the campaign, because it was an incredibly epic one. So there were 11 blockades that were established. Besides this one at Rochford Street, there was also a major one at Union Street, there was a major one at Newman Street, and a major one at Angel Street. And you can see a bunch of pictures of the blockades in the Dropbox. They used sofas, they used cardboard, old windows even. So many sofas were deposited on one blockade that it was referred to in the press as Furniture Street. Furniture Street. That was from the Sun. Thank you very much. The Union Street one was dominated by a burned out old car, which was daubed in protest slogans. So that was pretty amazing. And it was kind of a running battle between residents, council workers, the police, and the Sydney Morning Herald described it as being a case of guerrilla warfare. So there were a couple of incredible descriptions about the campaign. So the Mirror wrote an article dramatically titled "War on the Street." And the Mirror went, "Men, women and children formed human barricades in the face of front-end loaders as the battle for their streets went on today. Council crews called in this morning to remove residents' makeshift barriers erected overnight, refused to continue work after being confronted and abused. Residents immediately started to rebuild their battered barricades with household furniture, rubble and bedding. The locals have used guerrilla warfare on council and police, rebuilding makeshift barriers each time they were removed." And so you might wonder, how exactly did this guerrilla warfare pan out? So there's a great article in the Sydney Morning Herald which recounts how it happened. So it went, "Yesterday at about 3 p.m, a group of about 15 residents gathered at the remains of the Newman Street blockade after a bulldozer driven by a city council worker had ran through the loose material, clearing the path for traffic to enter Newman Street through King Street. By 4 p.m, a new blockade had been erected." So literally an hour later, they had built a whole new blockade. So this kind of battle went back and forth for 6 days. 6 days of blockades, of dealing with police and council workers. Council workers were perhaps so pissed off by the scenario that they decided to impose a black ban and refused to clear the blockades. And there was a mass meeting at Erskineville Town Hall where 400 people crammed into the town hall protesting about the closures, demanding that they stay. And after that meeting, the local minister, Kevin Stewart, announced a moratorium on removing the closures. So the closures stayed. It went to the Traffic Authority about 6 months later, and eventually the residents won, and we have this road closure here today, as you can see. A tribute to the victory of protesters in 1985. So I think something that we wanted to insist throughout this tour was that these spaces that we inhabit in the inner west are not just created by the top, by bosses, by capitalists, by governments, but are created by the actions of ordinary people in the spaces that we live and work and play. So that sort of power from below, we want to celebrate. And it's incredible this story happened, and we don't know about the history behind it. It's such an amazing story. We're lucky to have, as I mentioned earlier, Andrew Tudor with us here today, who's an expert on the Road Wars campaign and has made a film about it. So Andrew's just over there. So if you want to ask Andrew some questions after the tour, I'm sure he'd be delighted to answer them. And also, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming today. It's been so incredible. Amazing that people have come out in quite ridiculous heat and have lasted through the whole tour. I myself have become a ball of sweat. And so we'll be going to the Union Hotel to have a well-earned drink after the tour. It's about 3 minutes walk away. We passed it on the way in. And so our podcast, People System Australia, you can check it out. The leaflet that we distributed earlier has information about it. We have a Patreon if you want to financially support us. That would be so amazing. But more importantly, listen to the stories of struggle on the podcast and the stories here today. We'll be doing more tours in the future. We're aiming for every 3 months or so. So please come along to more. Christian, do you want to say anything to wrap up?
Oh, thanks so much, Tim, and thanks so much, everybody, for coming along today. I won't keep you all much longer, except to really re-emphasize, how grateful we are for everybody turning out in this heat and listening to us for so long. We've enjoyed it so much. It's such a pleasure. If you didn't grab our leaflet at the start, which links to our podcast, People's History of Australia, feel free to come up to me and I'll give it to you. And I think, what we learned today when we walk around the suburbs that we inhabit is that each suburb, each street almost, each site is a place where people have lived, have organised together, have loved one another, have come together, have struggled and fought for a better life. Each nice thing that we have, the tenant protections, the advances that queer people have won, victories in the fight for Aboriginal rights, nice spaces in the suburb. Anything and everything that we have that is good, we've got it because we fought for it. People like us, and we can do it again today. Everywhere we go, everywhere we are people just like us who can do things just like what we've talked about today. And that's really what we want to emphasize, that power is in our hands. Together we are strong, and together, we can make a new and better kind of world and society. So thank you so much, everybody, again. I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. And we'll see you all at the Union Hotel, and we'll see you all at Town Hall at 5:30 on Monday for the Palestine demonstration. Because, as much as this all might seem in the past, it's still going on today. We still have governments that are hell-bent on banning our right to protest, that are, hell-bent on supporting genocidal regimes overseas, that are doing all manner of horrible things. The fight continues, and let's live up to the people that have struggled before. Let's carry on their legacy. Let's do them justice, and let's commit ourselves to fighting together for a better world. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hi, everyone.